Hey friend, if you're looking for a way to save some money and a lot of time and have something on hand when you need a quick meal, I've got a really good tip for you. And let me grab some coffee and share it with you. I just came back from a quick trip to Walmart and I thought I would share this little practice that I have on a weekly basis. When I walk into Walmart, I'm usually walking into the food section, and my first stop is always the bakery that is in front of the store because our Walmart typically has some marked down French bread. Today, I happened to score it for 40 cents a loaf. So you better know that I picked up several loaves. What I do with these is pop them into the freezer as soon as I come home because the reason they're marked down is because they are past their prime. Is not beyond the best used by date, but is usually very close to it. I do love to make homemade bread and I do it often, but when I'm in a pinch and I need a meal really quick, nothing beats the speed of which you can thaw a loaf of French bread and get a meal on the table. So today I'm going to share with you 14 different ways that I use some of the discounted bread that I pick up at Walmart. Number one is probably the most often used method for using leftover French bread, and that is to make French bread pizza. I typically always have some sort of either pizza sauce, marinara sauce, or maybe just olive oil on hand, and I'll just load it up with some mozzarella cheese and just little bits and pieces of any kind of leftovers that we have. Maybe salad pieces, maybe some leftover chicken or ground beef from another meal. These are great toppings for pizza, and you can customize it any way you want depending on who's eating with you. Now, if you have littles in your household and French bread pizza is kind of hard to handle, you could always take your bread and slice it the other direction, and you end up with little mini pizza bites. And this is a great way to create little sandwiches for little hands, or maybe even appetizers. Top them with a dip or a tapenade, or just make little cheese toast. Another common way that I use it is to make what I call poor man's Philly cheesesteak. And that's really just using ground beef that I will brown, add some onions and peppers to it, a little bit of Worcestershire sauce. Load that on one side of the bread, load the other side with your favorite cheese. I typically will use mozzarella, but provolone, I believe, is supposed to be the proper cheese for a Philly cheesesteak, but use whatever cheese you like. Toast it like an open faced sandwich and then put it together. It is really good. And then you could always just do a plain sub sandwich as well. So if you just have cold cuts, cheese, salad, leftovers, it's a great way to use up the leftovers in your refrigerator. And it's also a one-handed meal. So this is often something that I make for my husband to have as a for lunch on the go. Another way, another family favorite is to make tiny grilled cheese sandwiches to go with tomato soup. That's one of our favorite winter treats. And when you have lots of small sandwiches, everybody gets to have several. So you've got plenty to dip into your soup until the whole bowl is gone. So you can make up a ton of sandwiches from a loaf or two of French bread. You also can use those same slices to do little small burgers or sliders or any other filling that makes for a great sandwich on the go as well. Then moving on to some breakfast ideas. French bread makes for some great French toast and requires nothing other than just some egg, maybe a little milk, a sprinkle of cinnamon, and some of your favorite syrup to top it off. I find French toast to be a little bit easier than making pancakes because it's so quick. Then another idea is to do a breakfast casserole. This is a great idea for around the holidays, especially when you come up on Thanksgiving or a big holiday where you're doing a lot of prep work for a big meal, but you need to eat the meals coming up to that. So typically breakfast kind of gets pushed by the wayside on Thanksgiving Day. So if you have prepared a breakfast casserole the night before, it can just sit in your refrigerator. You just take it out in the morning when you are making your coffee and then pop it in the oven when everybody's ready to eat. Usually takes about 30 minutes to heat it through and prep everything and have it ready for your crowd. I'll add the recipe below in the description for the breakfast casserole that I make most often. It's an easy way to use up, again, leftovers around the house and to have a meal ready for breakfast. And then very similar to a breakfast casserole would be a strata that you could use for an evening meal. Just make it a little more savory and maybe include more veggies and heartier cheeses for that one. The recipe I use for strata is very similar to the one that I do for breakfast. I'll also include that in the description below. And next we have cheesy garlic toast. Now, everybody loves Texas toast, but you can make it so much cheaper yourself and include cheese with it by using a loaf of French bread and not pay the Texas toast price. It goes great with any sort of soup or pasta dish and toasts up just as easily and quickly as Texas toast. Another little variation of that is to take the bread, hollow it out a little bit, load it up with cheeses and olives. And this also makes for a great side. In fact, we just had that today. And then aside from meals, you also can use it sort of as an appetizer to dip into like an oil mixture or hummus or whatever your favorite dip is. Just tearing it apart and having it around as an appetizer or finger food while Thanksgiving meal is being prepared. If you end up with the bread getting a little bit too stale, another great thing that you can do is cut it up into cubes, spray it with some oil and some of your favorite seasonings like salt and pepper, garlic powder, maybe some onion powder and parsley or some basil. Toast that in the oven until it's crunchy, and this is great to top off salads or your favorite soups. Also, if you're in a pinch for breadcrumbs, you can put those in your blender and blend them up, and they make perfect breadcrumbs. Then, because dessert is one of my favorites, my most favorite way to use French bread is to make bread pudding. I just made a batch of this a couple of days ago. I'll include some footage of that and the recipe as well in the description. So there you have it. I believe that's 14 different ways to utilize a loaf of French bread. And if you can get that French bread at a discounted price at your local bakery when it's a day or two old, then it's a great way to save some money and just have something in your stash for a really quick meal. Speaking of your stash, if you are new to cooking from scratch or you would like to do more cooking from scratch, but you're not sure that you have the right things in your pantry, I want to encourage you to come join our community. We have a free community on the school platform called the Savvy Saver Collective, because we are a collective of homemakers and home cooks who are trying to get real food on the table, but on a budget. So if you're just starting out and you need some direction as to what to start buying, but cooking from scratch does not mean you have to have a ton of ingredients just to get started. If you're looking to start stocking a real food pantry, I have a free ebook that's called Ditch the Boxes. And it's all about what to buy, what to put in your pantry, what to have on hand in order to start cooking from scratch and leaving behind the frankenfoods and the weird chemicals that are in so many of the convenience foods today. Let's feed our bodies well. Let's nurture and nourish our families well, but do it all on a budget. They claim that the economy is starting to look up, and I've actually seen some prices coming down. I've been really surprised at several things that I have seen in Walmart that prices have started to return to what was normal pre-pandemic. So it's taken a minute to get there. It's going to take a while for some of us to get caught back up. We've been stretching the dollars for a long time, and we still need to keep it up so that we can get back on track. So stick with me here. I want to continue to share simple, real food recipes that you can make in your own kitchen from scratch that are not going to stress you out, but you can do it without spending a ton of money or a ton of time in the kitchen. That's it for today, friends. Until the next video, you have a blessed one, and check out this video here.